It's International Women's Day and Ubisoft is celebrating. Carmen Chow, art director on X Defiant, sat down with Natasha Small, art director on multiple mobile projects, to have a conversation on the similarities and differences in their roles. Being a manager and an introvert, what equity in the games industry looks like right now, and much, much more. To kick things off, the pair talk about how working in art direction has completely turned the way they play video games inside out.
Yeah, I was also kind of wondering whether that step of becoming an art director, that there's a little bit of a leap that you have to make. And since then, does that change the way that you look at and play games? Can you look at them the same anymore? Is it different? Has anything changed there for you?
A lot, yeah. I think some of the big things I notice when playing games now is like, let's say reusing assets, especially on things like characters, like clothing, where you're like, oh, so they kind of designed a set. They've got like a cape and they've got a set of pants, and then they kind of mix and match on these different characters, like, because it makes sense, it saves time. Even just like reuse assets in the scenes for set dressing. It's like, oh, that's the same as there, and oh, I like how they did this, or I like how they did that.
So yes, looking for things like that. And I live pretty close to my character art director in on the same project. And one day we just decided to like hang out in the afternoon, and what a wholesome thing for two middle-aged women to do. To spend time, we decided to play Call of Duty. And so we're just like running around, in the map. And I remember us just kind of like screaming like, oh, shoot the glass. Oh, does it shatter? Oh, it breaks. Oh, shoot that thing. What happens to it? And then we were just rejoicing like on wow, that looks really cool. But not knowing that everybody can hear us on the controller. With PS5.
What are they talking about?
Yeah. And we're like, you can hear us? Oh shit. So yeah, things like that. For sure, it changed the way we play. Did you expect it to be different? Did you think art director was this certain thing, but once you get into it, what are some things that were different from your expectation?
I think for me, the main thing was, I mentioned earlier feeling nervous about like taking on the opportunity. And a big part of that was because I've always been shy and introverted and like quiet. And I thought I would have to be aggressive and really loud in order to, be a manager. And that's just not true at all. And it's, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel very passionate about that now, especially is it when I see people who maybe again doubt themselves because they're not the loudest voice in the room, or they're not, super outgoing, or you know what I mean. And it's just, I realized that like, I can be nice and I can be a good manager. Like, I don't have to be aggressive and like, you know what I mean? Like, I can be open to feedback, and I can be friendly and approachable. And that's what I've done. And it's worked really well, and people respond well to it. So I think it's just not, because I think I had an idea that like, and it's kind of a toxic work mentality, like that, yeah, like you needed to be that kind of type A, really aggressive to make it. And it's just not true. How about you?
I have to take a second, because what you just said is so similar to my experience too.
Really?
I was also a shy and introverted person, and I think that something that helped me might have been the ability to work from home. Actually, the fact that I can speak without in a big crowd really helped me, and I then realized I have things to say and it's okay to say them by raising my hand, and I can and I'm able to say it.
Another surprising thing for me as well was, being the art director doesn't mean being the best artist. Like, because often you're art directing a team of people that have an array of different skills. Like, I can't model, I can't do any of those things. I think an art director needs good taste and to be able to communicate. But yeah, often people on our teams are stronger artists than we are, and that's not, a weak thing to say. It's we're kind of like the captain of the ship.
As an art director, what I look for in I guess in artists, or either in a senior or lead position, is the more they are able to tell me what I don't know, or suggest to me what is not working, and talk to me like almost an equal, like they're not afraid to bring their suggestions. Those are the things that I actually really appreciate from people, and I think the more they speak up, the more I appreciate. So
yeah, and then a good manager or director is the ability to listen and to not have kind of our egos bruised if someone on our team who is, that we're managing has a better idea than we do. That's great, like, wow, thank you. And not think, well, I'm the director, I'm the one who makes the decisions. Like, no, we're directing a pool of ideas together, to kind of have that self-awareness is really important.
I'm curious. So Ubisoft is celebrating International Women's Day with the theme of embracing equity. So what do you think equity looks like in the games industry?
I think it kind of goes back to being open and communicating, listening to one another, being open to hiring, maybe not in such a traditional way of like ticking boxes, like, what degree do you have? And being, and just, like having different people from different backgrounds. You will get a wider range of different experiences and different things that those people will bring into games. And speaking for myself, when I was, a teenager and I wanted to be a concept artist or work on movies, I would read the credits, and the lack of women, like the names, like I would look for those names, and when I didn't see very many, I was very shy and introverted and already afraid of like leaving my house, and the idea of like going into a field that I maybe didn't feel as like, what if I don't belong? You know what I mean? Like, that was already at that point kind of a discouraging factor. I think the fact that I had a group of girlfriends who were all into the same thing in high school is the reason why I kind of stuck to it and I kind of went through with it. So yeah, I think, I want to see more of all kinds of people making games, and people shouldn't feel like they don't belong. And I think there's room for everybody, and I think there's rooms for all kinds of different kinds of games.
I'm very happy to see. Well, for me, I think I've always liked playing games, but I'm very happy to see now, actually, on our team to have more and more women game designers, and seeing even majority women designing a shooter game. I thought it was really amazing. And also, for me, I have some friends who are setting up game studios too, and just seeing how they make diversity a commitment very early on in building the studio was really great to see. I think that more and more game companies are doing that, and for the ones that don't put this as a priority will get left behind. I think the culture is changing. I'm very excited to see more young developers joining too, and they bring a very different perspective, and they challenge us on a lot of things, and having like more diversity on our team, I can see our discussions generally being different. And then some things get brought up about what can we do to represent a certain culture better. And you have more people around that you can ask even. That whole idea on its own changed and improved the content that we're putting in. And then the people who are receiving these content will also then feel like they're more part of the conversation. So I generally see that trend happening. Not fast enough, but it is happening. So it's good to see that.
It definitely shows in the way we design things and the way that, and it's just natural, and it doesn't feel forced. It's just, it just feels right. And we just, there's a lot of people bringing in different ideas, and we try to, maybe challenge some cliches and things like that. And we're all like super excited about it together. So that's really nice.
For us, because we're working on a shooter, so I love that we have discussion around representation and how we can have more different types of characters in our game. And for us, actually our close tests, we had more women characters than men in our cast. And it was one of the feedback was from players was where are all the guys? Or like where are the white guys, for example. And we actually had like maybe one or two out of the whole roster. The rest are all people of color and the different genders and very diverse cast. And so I am very proud of the team for being able to push that forward.
It's interesting how different topics, are discussed in different ways in different cultures across the world, and not everybody thinks like we do.
So what advice would you give for people who want to do what you do?
If someone is doubting if they're qualified enough to take on a role or to apply, just do it anyway. If it's something you want to do, again, often people aren't hired and they tick off every single box. If you show a willingness to learn and to be a team player and to be kind to the people you're around, there are a lot of opportunities out there.
Very much agree to go for it. I think I remember how much I also needed time to think about it, but I'm glad I did it. And at the same time, I think going back to what you said earlier about developing your taste, I think it's also important. And I think that a lot of times these things can be learned. I did not start my career with great taste. I still remember the things that I liked. I was like, what? But just by kind of being around people you admire and talking to them and listening to what, I think specifically I would advise, listen to what they don't like and why. And when you can sort of start understanding what makes something not good and what makes something good, you can sort of hone in on your own taste better. And I think when it comes to art directing, it's a big part of what you do each day is to make those judgments. And finally, just speak up is important as well. I understand the introversion. If anyone wants to talk to me about it, I can talk about it all day with you. But it's important at the end of the day that your thoughts are expressed and that it is conveyed and communicated to be able to kind of elevate you and show that show to others that your thoughts and your ideas. So at the end of the day, that is still part of the job. So yeah, and well, thank you so much, because we took incredibly valuable time from you today, and this is all the time that we have. And I just want to thank you, Natasha, for talking to me today, and thank you for Ubisoft and International Women's Day. I feel really honored to be invited and to be able to talk to everybody today. So thank you for your time. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.